Welcome to the official ArtPrize podcast, a limited series going behind the scenes of Grand Rapids' premier art competition. I'm your host, Steve Kelso. I'm a former ArtPrize reporter for Wood TV8, a former ArtPrize artist, and the owner of Kelso Communications, a proud ArtPrize sponsor. In this series, I'm talking with the artists, the organizers, and the decision makers shaping ArtPrize 16. Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the ArtPrize podcast. We're looking into all kinds of things regarding ArtPrize, and today I'm very fortunate to have Eddie Tadlock with me. It's a conversation I've wanted to have for a long time. Eddie, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Beautiful day today. Weather spectacular.
It is, isn't it? It's gorgeous out there. Kind of this morning, in fact, when I got up, it was like 50 degrees, and it kind of reminded me of those first fall days when ArtPrize is coming. ArtPrize is just around the corner, and you've been there since the get-go on this thing.
Since the very beginning, 2009, when they made the announcement of ArtPrize on the steps of the Welsh Auditorium.
And you were there.
I was there.
And what were your thoughts on that day?
That day was, what the heck is going on? What is this ArtPrize thing? Which a lot of people had those very same questions. They didn't know what to expect. And I actually had to convince the board of the Convention Arena Authority to be a venue for ArtPrize. They were like, what is this thing? I said, I don't know.
I don't know.
There should be some cool art, and we'll get to showcase it in the convention center. They said, okay, great. Pick 3 pieces of art and no naked people. Those were my marching orders.
Right.
And I ended up, I think the first year I had 32 pieces and 3 naked entries.
Okay. So you're a rule breaker right off the bat.
Absolutely. But we had 5 artists finish in the top 10 and got all kinds of recognition for the great art that we had. And then the board said, that's great. Next year, get 100 pieces. I said, it doesn't quite work like that, but they've been very supportive throughout the entire process and even to this day.
Now, explain to the folks who may not know what your job is and the benefits that your employer sees from ArtPrize.
So, day job, I'm assistant general manager for the convention center, and I was appointed to be the curator for ArtPrize, the very first one, because no one else would do it. So I was voluntold that pick the art, make it happen. And they've seen the benefits of hosting artists because, number one, we get people who come into the building who've never been inside before. So it's an experience for them to see it under a different context. Not like you're going to the boat show or the auto show, but you're coming to see art. And that was so enlightening and great to see, that very first ArtPrize, and just to be a fly on the wall and listen to conversations as people walk through the building. They're like, I don't know anything about art, but I like this. And just hearing that over and over again, and people experiencing art for the first time. And maybe they've never been to a museum before because it's been intimidating.
Right.
But ArtPrize opened this up to a whole new audience of people who can appreciate art.
You know, it raises the question. We have a long history with art in Grand Rapids. Of course, the Festival of the Arts went on forever. We have the very first piece of art that the National Endowment for Public Arts ever placed in the United States with the Calder and the Calder Plaza. How has ArtPrize informed the good and great people of Grand Rapids? Are we better patrons now, maybe, than we were before?
I believe so. Just because, when people come through and experience ArtPrize, they take notice of the things that have been here for years that they never would have recognized or even thought to look at twice. So it's really kind of leveled the playing field for art, for what that's worth. And I think it's been a very good thing for the city of Grand Rapids.
I noticed the first year, I stopped by one of the local watering holes and was talking to the drinkers of beer and breakers of things. And they were sitting there talking about what is art. They were having this conversation. Well, these guys never would have had that conversation before. Come that winter, they rented a bus and they went over to the Art Institute in Chicago. And the next time I catch up with them in the tavern, they're sitting there talking about the Ciroc. So that was really encouraging to me to see. And that idea of opening up conversation was really taking hold.
Yeah, it really transformed the arts community in Grand Rapids, and not just locally, just around the country. Because when I travel on business, I'm an art junkie, so I usually find a museum or a gallery or something, and I'll just strike a conversation. Hey, have you heard about ArtPrize? Oh yeah, that's that thing in Grand Rapids, Michigan. How cool is that? And then continue the conversation and say, do you know any artists who might be interested in participating? Yeah, so we exchange information, and then next thing you know, I've got artists from Fort Lauderdale, from Phoenix, Arizona, from LA, from Seattle coming to ArtPrize, and I've hosted those artists at DeVos Place.
And you have hosted a number of winners over there.
Absolutely. Every year we have artists that finish in the top 10 and make it to the finals. And this year we had, I believe, 10 artists placed in the top 10 in this city center district. There's 5 districts, and they pick 20 in each district.
Okay.
And I had 10 artists at DeVos Place finish there. So they do really, really well. And I'm lucky that I get to select them, because it's always a battle to find the right artists, because you're competing against the Grand Rapids Art Museum, the Ford Museum, the Public Museum, and everybody. I want to be in a museum, say convention center. What's that? But then once they get in and see the reception they get from visitors coming through, now I'm beating them off with a stick, hey, pick me. And it's like, so it's competitive.
There's an actual competition amongst the venues to score the best
Absolutely.
pieces. Because they want that foot traffic. Or is it just bragging rights?
Both. Sometimes we have too many people at DeVos Place. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've kind of scaled back the number of entries just so there's some breathing room in between the pieces, and people can actually walk down the hall without being stuck in the middle. I mean, there are years when I wouldn't even walk on the skywalk. I'd take the stairs and go down on the street and walk around just because it was faster.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Go all the way around the building instead of trying to cut through the building.
Yeah.
I have been in there with some of those crowds. It's always been my best experience if you can get out during the weekday and walk around in there. That's when you're going to have your best chance.
Well, we have crowds lining up at 8 a.m. when we open the doors to the building. School groups, we get buses packed with tourists who are coming through. And as soon as the doors open, they're in.
That has made I just got done going through the study from Seidman about last year's ArtPrize. And I hear this notion out on the street that, ArtPrize has jumped the shark. ArtPrize isn't what it used to be. And yet I look at those numbers and it just doesn't bear that out. We had close to 1 million visitors last year. And that number, that's not anomalous. That's a trend that continues to build. How has ArtPrize changed in the time that we've been there? And what do we do about that attitude that ArtPrize has jumped the shark?
I find it funny when people say it's not what it used to be. Well, everything evolves and changes over time. They've made some changes in the rules for participation and engagement and, prize money and lots of different changes. But I think there have been changes for the good, because you can't just be stagnant and remain, this is how it's always been, so we don't change. Huh? You've got to change and kind of make things a little different, both for the artist and the patrons who are coming out to see it. But overall, I think most people have said that it's, with the exception of that one year when they did that ArtPrize 1 tour thing every other year, that just threw everybody off. It was crazy. I'll admit, I said, what is this? They're not doing it again. Thank God.
Right.
But you learn.
The slogan now is it's every year.
Yeah.
Because that stuck. People are like, are they doing that this year? I thought it was every other year.
Because I will have friends and family come from out of town, specifically for ArtPrize, right? Because they enjoyed it so much. Before, when they had the art club or whatever, the clubhouse for ArtPrize, and you can pay additional fee and you get to go to the clubhouse. my sister and her husband and all my other friends, they came up specifically so they can go to the ArtPrize clubhouse.
Go hang in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and spend the whole day going around seeing art, which is pretty awesome. And you can't, I don't know anyone who ever claims to have seen it all. There's just no way. We've got over 1,000 artists this year, which is a great. I tried the second year of ArtPrize. I said, I'm going to see every single entry. And I did. I will never do that
again. and you're an art fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just too much to cover in that time frame, that window of ArtPrize. You know, when I go to other cities for art festivals and other things, nothing compares to ArtPrize. It's a completely different vibe, completely different type of engagement. It's not like you're going down the street and there's booths set up and artists are selling trinkets and trash. This is people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into their artistic expression, and it's on display for the world to see, which I think is pretty cool and unique.
I remember some pieces that you showed me when I was working as a reporter at Channel 8. And one in particular, Gretchen Lauer, I don't remember the name of the piece.
I remember the piece. It was
the woman crying
with a tear. Yes.
It struck me. You mentioned the word bravery. It struck me the bravery of that artist to create that and put it out there.
And interesting story about Gretchen. So she was a student at GRCC in the music program. So she plays classical piano. That was the first painting she ever did in her life.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And I did a story with her. I went and heard her play, and I was in tears.
And so another little funny story when, I curate the show, so I know where each piece is going to go based on my experience of curating the space for all these years. And I said, there's only one spot that you can go. And she came and she saw the spot and she started crying. I was like, what's wrong? Well, no one's going to be able to see it from here and there. I said, trust me, they'll see it. And the way they have the lights focused on it, it's going to pop out. And lo and behold, she was one of the winners.
Yeah, she was. It was amazing. I had no idea who that woman was. I had no idea what the tear in her eye was about. But there was something that struck you when you saw that it was just mind-blowing, earth-shattering. I guess let's go to this question. What is art? Is that art? Is that because it made me something? What is art?
It's whatever speaks to you. I think Andy Warhol said it best. Art is a man's name. As corny as it sounds, it is, because different things speak differently to the observer, and it gives you the opportunity to make your own interpretation of what is this, and it's always funny here to say, well, I could have made that, but you didn't.
And if you did, you didn't bring it here to show it off.
Exactly. So I think that's an ongoing conversation, which is great.
Right.
But no one gets to define what art is. It's up to individual interpretation. That's my feeling about the whole thing.
To that end, does anyone get to define what ArtPrize is?
No, it's a thing.
You said you stood on those steps in 2009 wondering what the heck this ArtPrize thing is. There's part of me that still kind of wonders all these years later, what the heck is this ArtPrize thing?
I would say ArtPrize is a catalyst to starting conversations on things, be it a sculpture, be it a painting, be it some mishmash of old automobile parts and everything else, but it starts a conversation. And it's really more interesting when the artist is actually there next to their work and explaining what their thought process was and putting this thing together and having that conversation with the patrons who come in. That's always interesting to hear. Or you see the artist kind of stand off to the side and then people have their own interpretation. They're talking out loud. Well, he meant this. He meant this. The artist comes over. I didn't mean any of that. I just threw some stuff together.
And that's got to be real value for the artist. But beyond that, looking across our country these days, conversation's something we're a little short on, yo. I mean, we are not good at it, and it just seems to go like this, especially on social media. Maybe there's a real social value to ArtPrize. Mm-hmm.
Because, over the years, we've had political pieces in different venues, and I try and stray away from those because I don't think those conversations are healthy, because it's just baiting people into some type of thing, political or religious for that matter. So I try and stay away from those things, and I try and find pieces that make a common ground for everyone to interpret what they see and not become volatile or political or, all those kinds of crazy things. So,
because eventually it leads us to discussions on the human condition, right? Mm-hmm. And we find that maybe we have a whole lot more common ground than we really have apart. I think that's a valuable thing. If you were going to change one thing about ArtPrize, what would it be?
More on the venue side, I would change some of the requirements of artists when they're submitting work. And this is just like technical stuff, dimensions, weight, kind of all those things, because it's really hard to curate a piece and place it if you don't know the size, you don't know the dimensions. They just have this raggedy photo of the piece on the website. Because a lot of times I'll have to go out, and if I like a piece of art, I'll have to go contact the artist somehow, some way, and have a conversation. What is this thing? I like the concept, but how big is it?
Right.
Is it going to fit the
forklift? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, you could use a forklift to move some of this stuff around. We use
forklifts every year for ArtPrize.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Advice to someone if they're going to take off and see it for the first time. I've never been to ArtPrize.
I would say start at the larger venues first because you get a bigger bang for your buck. So say like DeVos Place, for instance. I've had upwards of 100 pieces of art in one location. I don't do that anymore, but you can start there and see quite a bit and a variety of art. And then we're connected to the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel, so you can continue that journey to the hotel, and they have great art. And then when you finish at the hotel, you can go across the bridge to the Ford Museum, and they always have a great collection of art. And then you can go from the Ford Museum to the Public Museum, and you can just make this circuit and see a lot of art in a short time frame if you're limited on time.
And within a pretty easy walk.
Yeah.
And most folks can get around that pretty easily. That's a good idea because you are going to catch a lot of it in there. All right. It's one thing. Your neighbor doesn't know anything about ArtPrize, but the one thing you wish you could make him understand and know about ArtPrize.
It's an experience. It's a very unique experience. Walk and see it firsthand. And you decide if it's a junk show or if it's a conversation starter. And I'm the biggest promoter of ArtPrize, not only in Grand Rapids, but whenever I travel around the country, around the world, I'm talking to people about ArtPrize because I wouldn't say it's a spectacle, but it's a unique environment to kind of see art and meet artists from all around the world. I've had artists from 17 different countries showcase at DeVos Place and still keep in touch with them as well.
Then you started the conversation, didn't you? All right. Eddie Tadlock, thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Great conversation. Stay tuned right here because you'll want to catch more of the ArtPrize podcast. We'll have further episodes for you coming up. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the official ArtPrize podcast. Make sure to download the ArtPrize app and cast your votes. Visit artprize.org for more information.